Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live Season 3, Episode 7, DJI Mavic 3, and Autel Evo 2, and all the news. Gentlemen, welcome back. How are you this evening, Marcus?
Very good, very good. I actually have a little bit of news for you guys. I've got a new drone coming. One that you guys may not be aware of. Last night, I ordered an Eachine EX4.
Okay.
Through Banggood, and it's coming from the U.S. warehouse, so I should have it pretty quickly. I ended up getting the 2 battery package, got a pretty good deal at about $208. So my thoughts on that were that, often we talk about starter drones for people, and Ron and I have had this conversation a million times about having stabilized video. So I thought that I had to put one of those in the fleet to be able to compare it and to be able to show people, what you can get for around $200. I think that's probably and you guys tell me if you've seen anything different, but I think that's about the very bottom where you can get a GPS drone with brushless motors with a stabilized gimbal on it.
A 3-axis gimbal or 2-axis?
It's a 3-axis gimbal, Ron.
Now,
1080p only.
You said this is an Eachine. Is this a rebrand of something else? Or
it is. It's the same thing as the C-Fly Faith or the JJRC X12, I believe they call it.
I can't keep up with all these drones that have about they're rebranded 3 or 4 times, but it definitely sounds like it's interesting. But did I hear correctly? You said you ordered a drone from Banggood and it's going to ship quickly. I mean,
yeah. let me say that I also
take you downstairs and get a good stiff drink.
They had it in their U.S. warehouse, and I used our good friend Ryan Duvall's link to get it.
Well,
wow!
If Ryan Duvall's shipping it, I know it'll get there on time.
All right, Ron, welcome back. How are you?
Well, good to see you. It's been such a long time, Bill. It's good to check in. I just got one question for you, Bill.
Yes.
Your Zino 2 status. What happened
Zino 2
today?
status, not packed yet. Still paid. Still paid.
those doggone people over at Gearbest. We gotta go over there and work them. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're every day I read the news on the coronavirus. It's getting worse and worse, it seems. So I really pity the poor people over in China, and I know that shipping out our little 2 drones isn't the priority right now. So we just got to hang in there, guys.
Well, I have an update from a subscriber that I'm going to read to you, and then we'll talk a little more about the Zino 2. This was from a comment that was left on a video. As of right now, news from on the docks, container shipping company offices in China are either already opened or getting ready to reopen as soon as possible and resume shipping containers full of toys, clothes, food, and of course drones. So the scare of the coronavirus is slowly starting to fade away. So that's some good news.
Well, that sounds like good news, but from Apple today said that Apple today dropped their projections for this current quarter based on the virus. So it doesn't sound like Apple kind of agrees with that message you just read, Bill.
Yeah, I did see that too, Ron. So it's we're getting a mixed bag. Hopefully what we're seeing here is true. I'd like to believe that.
Hopefully, but I kind of trust what's coming out of Apple more than I do.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say.
Be careful, Ron.
Yeah. But I put more weight on what Apple tells me. I don't know what you think, Marcus.
Yeah, no, I saw that on the business news this morning, and so Ron, I will add to that and say that it probably also has to do with their production rate, not just shipping, right? So,
right.
No question about that. And even think about this from Apple's perspective: parts suppliers. Hey, maybe they can put them together, but they can't get the parts, etc. And as we know, anything in manufacturing now is all just in time. There's no backlogs of inventory anywhere, or that is their goal. Everything is produced just as it's needed.
Right. So my advice to everybody in the chat tonight, Fly what you got.
Fly what you got. Exactly.
Fly what you got.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the Zino 2 here. It's really kind of been a I remember that song "Ball of Confusion" from back in the '60s, guys. I don't know if it was the Spinners or the Four Tops or something.
Can you hum a couple bars, Bill?
Yeah, it's a ball of confusion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it.
They don't pay me for my singing ability on this channel, okay? But it's and what's interesting is I've gone out onto ZinoNation and onto my Zino group, and everybody's been saying, it's been kind of like you get one thing from a customer service rep one day and you get something else the other day, and it's been like that. It's been, they kind of tell you something to appease you, and then you heard the next day, and well, no, that's not really the case. And it's just a big mess right now as far as that's concerned. And I wish, and I know Ron has mentioned this too, and it would be wonderful if Hubsan would just to say, you know what, let's just hook up with Amazon. They can ship worldwide. We can do it exclusively through them. And, Jeff Bezos would be, lining his pockets again with a lot more money. It would be a very simple solution for that. But,
right.
Who am I to talk about trade laws and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, but I let Gearbest and Banggood service and whatever the rest of the world, and send a ship over here with a couple pallets of Zino 2, and just once you get in Amazon's warehouses, whatever you set the release date out there 2 days later, right, Marcus?
That tends to be it.
Yeah. Well, next time around, once you three of us pull our money, and we'll buy a couple pallets of the Zino 3 directly from Hubsan, and we'll have it sent over here, and we'll send it into Amazon, and we'll be the drone kings.
That's right. It'll all come from us. I got to share this picture. We had a gorgeous sunset tonight. I know Ron is the Jedi master of sunsets. Okay. He really is. And if you guys ever watch some of his videos where he's done some sunsets, like I said, my words are true. Okay. Well, the young Padawan here has taken heed to this, and I want to go ahead and share this because I think this was a pretty good sunset tonight. Out behind our house, Valerie goes, I think you ought to take a look at that sunset out there. It's pretty nice. So I went out there to take a look at it. And of course, she was right. It was absolutely gorgeous tonight. So
now what device was I taken with, Bill?
That was with a Galaxy Note 10 Plus.
That's not the one with 108 megapixels.
No, I don't have the S20.
Okay.
Not yet. And probably never. If I'm going for an upgrade, it'll probably be the Note 21. So but anyhow, okay, we're going to switch gears here, and we're going to talk about the news that I had shared last week, the breaking news about the DJI Mavic 3 and what we found out that it is not going to come out in 2020. Now, there's been a hailstorm of comments come out about this. Drone DJ, and I'll kind of start out with this, and I want to get your guys' reaction to it. Well, if you stop buying Mavic 2s, then we'll see a Mavic 3 this year. What do you guys think of a statement like that? Let's start out with that.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. No, why would you stop buying Mavic 2s if it's still a very valid product and people enjoy it. And I can tell you that what DJI knows is they'll release the Mavic 3 because they'll have some phenomenal new feature on there that we're all going to want, and they'll sell twice as many of those.
And I say, no way they're going to get the drone community organized to boycott Mavic 2 so we can get a Mavic 3. The only way the Mavic 2 is going to stop selling is if the Evo ever gets released to the the general public, and the Evo models are better drones at the same price point or less than the current Mavic 2s out there. That'll stop them from selling. But Yeah,
that's this is just a terribly interesting kind of conversation here as far as that's concerned. And here's another school of thought here. All right, while we discussed that. All right, what do you guys think if DJI is just doing this as a they're feeding us false information, a false narrative that they're planning on coming out with it at the end of the year to get throw everybody off base? What do you guys think of something like that?
I just don't see any reason for them to be that devious. I don't know what advantage that would give them.
Yeah, I don't know. If anything but products being ready dictates release dates. I'm guessing when the Evo 2 came out, whatever specs they had on the board for the Mavic 3 now got rethought after they studied the specs of all three Evo 2 models, and then they probably rethinking what's going to be in a Mavic 3. And I guess the more stuff they want to put in it, the more that pushes that release date back to, like Bill said, maybe the end of the year or maybe next year. Bill, I see Lauren's in the house tonight, and he said he wouldn't mind getting in this conversation.
Yeah, I just sent him a link.
Lauren's got a good mic tonight.
So, Lauren, if you're available, I did send you a link on Facebook, so you're welcome to join the chat here. It really is one of these things here. And one of the things that I heard today, and we're going to talk about the Evo 2 kind of separately from this, but one of the things that I heard of today, another thing swirling around, is that DJI wants to make this an interchangeable camera like the Evo 2 is. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Wow, that'd be awesome. I mean, anything that gives us more flexibility, that'd be great.
Yeah, and listen, I think that would be a wise move too, because of course the Mavic 2, was kind of you could change cameras on it. I mean, not easily, and not only does the Evo 2 have that ability, but even a budget drone such as the Zino 2. See how I worked the Zino 2 back in the conversation? It has a changeable camera also. So how can DJI plan a drone coming out? The end of the year. When they release the Mavic 3, it'll be the drone for a year or two. So by the end of that run, if they didn't have a removable camera on it, everybody else in the world would. So they definitely have to jump on that bandwagon. I mean, unless they think it's total bull and nobody wants it or whatever. And I guess we'll have to see. And I have one big question for you. I mean, I'm going to get hate mail from the Autel lovers, and I'm not an Autel. I mean, I've never owned Autel, but I think they make great products. I got nothing against them. But here's the thing is, we really don't know yet if the Evo 2 Pro with the one-inch sensor, we know it'll be better than the Mavic 2 Pro. Well, maybe. But we don't know how much better, because if it's not considerably better, who knows the Mavic 2 is going to upgrade for something that's just incrementally better? I mean, it's got to be a nice step forward, at least to get me to upgrade. And we have been joined by Lauren tonight. How are you, sir?
Not so bad. Yourself? Hopefully I got a bit better microphone tonight.
We can hear you.
Great tonight, Lauren.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna get one of the what's the music awards? You're gonna get an Emmy tonight for this voice quality.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny because last time, and my apologies to Bill, is once I found out my microphone wasn't working properly and people were complaining, I more or less tried to keep my chat to a minimum. So my apologies to everybody again.
Hey, bad audits happen to all of us, Lauren. So no apologies needed. So we've been rambling on about the Mavic 3 and stuff or whatever. I'm sure you have some thoughts.
Absolutely. I can discuss some things, but I can't discuss everything. And part of that is that they're not planning to release it in 2020, or there is, to quote it properly, there's no plans to release it in 2020 so far. And that so far came from many different sources. So that so far, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt on whether or not it's an absolute that they're not going to or not, A lot of people.
I'll answer a question. This is probably a question you can't answer. Do you think the coronavirus has even affected something like the Mavic 3? And I'm just asking you to speculate here. You may not know the answer to this.
Mavic 3, not really, but
Okay.
it was definitely affected everything else, like everything from shipping to you name it. Like, without going into too much detail, there's been a great effect to everything in China. And what you said earlier, Ron, was just spot on. There's a lot bigger things to worry about over there than our drone deliveries. So,
Lauren, that's a great point here. And I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind is the human element. And, it's been brought up, first and foremost, this isn't just China. It's hit everywhere. Okay. There's been cases reported all around the world. And, hopefully the World Health Organization and other health bodies can get this addressed, get it taken care of, and get it eradicated, before, more people's lives are lost. So, that's the overriding and number one concern. And obviously, I think what was great was they extended the Chinese New Year's to allow for this. And, and as just a side note here, DJI did get out their agricultural drones and use them to spray areas of Shenzhen. And, it really had a very fast application. I was reading Drone Girl Sally French put out something like that. But anyway, okay, want to get back to this here. Now, is it possible? And this is for all of you. And Lauren, if you have to defer, just say defer on it. Do you think that with remote ID, that DJI decided that because it's way up in the air, that they decided for a drone like the Mavic 3 that they're just going to hold this until there's a decision regarding remote ID? Gentlemen, open for discussion.
So that was honestly my first thought, is that it's just such a fluid situation right now. How do we know at that level? Maybe they do know what it is, and it sounds like although I'd say based on that video that DJI released yesterday, they don't, right? They are making their push for that drone to phone idea. So who knows? And it sounds to me that even on the FAA side that there's technology yet to be developed. So I could completely appreciate that a manufacturer might take that into consideration before they release what is arguably their frontline prosumer drone.
I kind of agree with Marcus. I guess if they held the Mavic 3 off for a year and then released it early in 2021, maybe it could be the first drone ready for the new FAA rules or whatever, be fully equipped for the new rules. I mean, I guess it could be a consideration. I mean, pure speculation on my part on what's going through the minds of the people over in China. Lauren, you have any thoughts, or can you speak at all on this topic?
I can. Some I do have to defer, but the release of the 3 has absolutely nothing to do with that. Okay. I know that for a fact. But on that same topic, I'm going to get a little bit personal here. I am so dead set against any way that we are allowing the public knowledge of personal information. And if we allow it to our authorities, whether it's down in the States or up here in Canada, okay, I got no problems with that at all. But you get people out there that are just, shall we say, vigilantes that just don't like drones, and that could cause more problems than they can ever imagine.
Hey, Lauren, can I add to that just a little bit? Because you spoke about authorities, and I completely agree with you. But what I will say is if I'm flying out in Class G airspace, I don't even think the authorities need to know when and where I'm flying. Now, if I'm in any kind of controlled airspace, that's very, very different. They absolutely do need to know. But if I'm out there in the middle of nowhere, why do they need to know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like where I do a majority of my flying, like I like the scenic stuff. You know, it's funny, Bill, or sorry, Marcus, like some of the stuff that you've done in the canyon there, like there was a great show on TV the other night that kind of showed all of our landscape that's near where I live. And it's funny, within an hour drive, I've got everything from badlands to plains to, you know, huge mountains. And so I'm really blessed in that, but I have personally no interest to fly in an urban center. So, and for the FAA to go through with this thing about internet connection, you just can't do it. And I worry because what happens in the States could happen in Canada. And, you know, so it doesn't matter whether you're from the States or not, you should be keeping your ear out on this.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take a deep dive into this here in just a few minutes.
Hey, Bill, can I just check one thing before we get off the topic? You know what I think the FAA and them should be concerned about too is the first time somebody gets, you know, robbed and possibly injured or killed by somebody using this, you know, peer-to-peer location finder that they want to put in a drone pilot or whatever. Somebody stalks him, kills him, steals his drone, or injures him bad. What when his family? What when they hire? And you know, in the U.S. we have what they call ambulance chasers, lawyers, or whatever. What if they hire some aggressive lawyers to say that this role is responsible for this person's death, and they go right after the FFA, which means they're going after the government in a huge lawsuit that could be in the courts for years and get a lot of publicity on TV and negative publicity for the government and the FAA. I mean, that's I can almost guarantee somebody will try to sue if something bad comes out of this, and they'll go right after the authorities and the people who put these laws into effect.
Well, and great points, guys. And we're going to take a deep dive in it here in just a couple of minutes. But a little more on the Mavic 3 here. And I want to throw this around, and Lauren, you can defer. You know, that's always available for you. Yep. Do you think, and this is a general question for everybody, and I'll answer this too, you know, when you guys are done, but do you think that DJI is retooling because of the Evo 2? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No.
I think that whatever Autel had going with the Evo 2, I guarantee you, DJI, if they didn't know precisely, they surely had a good idea of it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the leader already, so they're pursuing their own technology. I can't even believe it would be a consideration.
On Marcus's thing, I can say that all the news of the release of the Evo 2 did give them pause. But again, as Haya said, the release of the Evo 2 has been not quite what was expected. They haven't really delivered in quantities. And so any chance of releasing the Evo 3 on the scheduled timeline, as I originally said, was scheduled for June or July, has now been kind of wait and see on how the numbers are actually on the Evo 2.
Well, you know, one thing with that, and I want to point this out, it was in my 1 minute video, and we all know Cliff Totten, okay? I'll call him my camera expert here because he is. He was saying right now at this point in time that whatever Autel puts out as far as camera specs are, you can't get any better than that right now. That is exactly what's available. So he said, you know, his comment was that whatever DJI does, it'll just match them. It won't exceed what they have and he actually said, you know, that 6K is a misnomer. It's really like 5.7. So he was real emphatic about that.
Yep.
You know, in the 8K, it's not quite 8K either. So, you know, and he was yipping with Autel about that. But that's a whole nother thing here. Do you think, and this is just for me, this is just a question I'm going to pose to everybody here. Do you think that DJI just said, okay, we're going to stop here and let's take stock of this situation? Okay, now we've ruled out that it was due to the coronavirus or anything to do with that. We've also ruled out right now, it's not because of Autel and everything. They want this to be the flagship of their company without any question, okay? Because, I can tell you this. On a given day, I get 10 to 15 to maybe even up to 30 people join my Mavic 2 group, okay? I'm getting close to 6,000 people in it. I mean, it is a very popular drone. It's something that that we enjoy here, okay? Do you think that there is, and I'll go with this, what DJI has said, because the Mavic 2 is selling so well, that DJI just doesn't want to interrupt this flow?
Bill, I would say that they've probably got some pretty smart accountants that have done the math and know what the point is of where those sales drop off, and when it's time to release another one. And it's probably a combination of things like that, as well as developing the technology for whatever that next product is. So I don't think you can put your thumb on any one thing, would be my guess.
I'm going to say something and try not to say too much, but a lot of people are overlooking the obvious. A big part of DJI is their commercial end. And if you have a look, if they come out with a Mavic 3, how does that affect their commercial end? Think about that, because they do have their Mavic Enterprises, and I have to leave it at that. Okay.
Okay.
Understood. Let me throw in real fast.
Go for it, Ron.
Well, I'll have two thoughts here. Well, number one thought is I don't know, what DJI's release schedules, but please, DJI, stop releasing all the drones I want to buy in the middle of the winter for us poor people that live in the cold weather parts of North America. Don't release all Mavic Mini. It has to come out like in the middle of November and get to us about like the beginning of December, just when the weather's starting to fall apart here. All their new drones come out when the bad weather's about to hit. Put drones out in the spring or whatever. Thank God for us people that live in the cold weather parts of the country. And my second thought is, if I have to fly the Mavic 2 Pro the rest of this year and the next year, it won't bother me one bit. I'm perfectly satisfied with the drone. I never take the Mavic 2 Pro out and think I'm missing out on something because I don't have this or that feature or whatever. And that's all I got to say on that.
Hey, Ron, I'm sorry. I got to give you a bit of a hard time because we were out flying last weekend, like as in Saturday, and I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures or not from our group, but like it was when we started out, it was -5 Celsius, and by the time we were done, it was about +2, +3 Celsius, and we had just an amazing turnout, with the guys. So. I'm just giving you a little bit of a hard time.
Boy, balmy out there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I stand corrected then or whatever. It actually has been a warmer than usual winter in New Jersey here. But I would like to see these new drones come out in we'll say April or May or whatever from DJI.
Well, one of the things, and we're going to wrap up the Mavic 3 portion of this right here, and I think Lauren brought up a great point. And last I heard, and Lauren can probably correct me on this, that the Matrice 300 was pending FCC approval before it's able to be released. That I did read somewhere,
Yep.
And again, he brought up a good point as far as the commercial end of things, because DJI does make a lot of money from their commercial drones. And, let's consider the Matrice 300 a commercial drone, because basically, a $30,000 product, the three of us or the four of us can't walk into a store and say, you know, put down our card and say, you know, let me take it home. Well, Lauren might be able to. He might be able to take it home. I don't know. I don't know. They probably know where he lives, but you know, for most people, you know, most consumers aren't going to be getting a Matrice 300. Let's just call it like it is. Okay, it definitely has commercial type applications with it, whether it's filmmaking, you know, industrial type use, etc. Okay. You know, so I think DJI has a lot on their plate right now, and I also think too, you know, the Mavic Air 2 is something that is definitely coming.
April or May.
April or May.
Hey, Bill, before we move on from the commercial drones, how big of a player is DJI in the commercial drone industry? How big of a part of their business is that?
That's a known. And that's one thing. DJI does not release their sales figures. So any type of figures that you get, for example, I looked last year, and Drone Girl put together based it upon registration of drones with Kitty Hawk, what the most popular drones were, and it was broken down. Of course, it was DJI. But second, when it was really funny, was Unique. Okay, and go figure that one, because we've talked about that ad nauseum as well, you know, as far as that's concerned. So, you know, it's only getting a little bit of insight into things like that. You know, there may be something like that with Kitty Hawk as far as commercial drones are concerned. You know, and I have absolutely no idea as far as that's concerned.
Okay, thank you.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of shift focus, and we're going to talk about the Evo 2 a little bit here, because, you know, the comments just rolled in on my 1-minute video. Oh, this is a perfect chance for Autel to step in and take over. You know, the sky is clear for them. Get out of the way, Grandma. The bingo game's starting to roll. I mean, it's ready to roll for them. That's what I saw. I did see a lot of this as far as the comments were concerned. Okay. Now, some things that we need to keep in mind, and then I'm going to open this up for discussion here. Okay. Number one, Autel does not have the production capabilities that DJI has, plain and simple. Okay. It's just not there. They don't have that. Okay. Number two, and let's remember this, at CES, and I know both Lauren and Marcus were there, at CES, it was a last minute decision for Autel to put the booth in, and they had to get financing for that. Okay, so their financial position is not as stable, obviously, as DJI's. And the other thing is, and I know Ken Dono kind of confirmed this for me as well, they have a bare minimum support staff up in where they are near Seattle, Washington. They don't have a support staff anywhere near what DJI has as far as that's concerned. Okay. So your gentlemen, I'm interested to get your thoughts about the Evo 2 coming in and taking the place of the Mavic 3 this year and being the king of drones. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
It won't. I mean, so Autel clearly is very capable of making a nice product. We know that from the original Evo. Still today, I would say it's probably one of the frontline prosumer drones. No question about it. So the Evo 2 is going to be a great product, but I just don't think they have the customer base that DJI has. And while I hope it's very successful, I just don't think that DJI has to worry too much about anybody overtaking their position.
A good comment. I got one quick comment for Bill. You mentioned the Autel support staff being small. Do they have more or less people than Gearbest in customer service?
That's a good question, Ron. They might have about the same, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, probably the 2 or 3 better. Okay, here's my thought. Well, I got more of a question here to you guys than I do an answer here in the Autel 2. Say we'll go right to the Autel Evo Pro, the 1-inch sensor model. So it comes out. And it's got great reviews. You know, it's clearly better than the Mavic 2 Pro. It could, you know, the pictures and video are better. And I'm just assuming all this. I'm not saying it is or it isn't or whatever. Okay, it comes out. What would that be enough, or would it take more for everybody on this panel to put their Mavic 2 Pro up on eBay and go get the Autel Evo 2 instead?
Okay, for me, I have the proof is in the pudding. Okay, I have to see I have to see that video, and I have to see how well that video is.
Well, that's what I mean. It's out, and everybody loves it, and it's a massive hit or whatever.
Now, here's the thing, and this is something I think we need to kind of separate here. And I kind of alluded to it when we talked earlier about, the Mavic 3 having, say, an interchangeable camera type of platform like the Evo 2. Okay, the Mavic 2 is a solid drone. Okay, let's just talking drone wise. Okay, and not the camera itself, but drone wise, it is a very solid performing drone. Okay, all of us know that. Okay, we've experienced it ourselves. We know how it performs. It performs extremely well. It has been my go-to drone almost all the time for just about anything here. With that being said, okay, now Autel is kind of branding the Evo 2 as their kind of go-to drone that it will handle, multiple cameras in this same platform. Okay. While the cameras have been looked at already, okay, there haven't been a lot, and I know there's not a lot of Evo 2s out there. I know Rick Smith has one. I know Aldrin from Flight Path has one. There's not a lot out there to see, but can it handle flying like the Mavic 2 or the potentially Mavic 3 is? I guess that's my question for you gentlemen. Do you think that this is a drone that will have the capabilities of, say, on par with a Mavic 2 as far as the flying capabilities are concerned and obstacle avoidance and everything?
I think there's little question. They wouldn't release it if it didn't. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, I've never flown an Autel product, but I know that they have a pretty good reputation. And I'm sure that from what we've seen in the specs, it looks like they've spec'd it out to to compete or be a little bit better than Mavic 2. But again, that all has to be proven when it really gets in the hands of end users, not just a couple reviewers. And another thing too is for me, the upgrade, it would have to be significantly better than the Mavic 2. It just can't be slightly better. Like I don't care if it's got, like most people, I see the comments. Most of us don't care about 6 or 8K, whatever. It's got to the video has to look better. It has to be easier to edit in like Final Cut and the Adobe Premiere, whatever. I mean, it's, the pictures have to look significantly better. It has to be significantly better for me to want to upgrade to it. Otherwise, I'm just sitting tight on the Mavic 2 Pro. And that's my thoughts.
Lauren, what are your thoughts?
Yep. Just one thing before I get into that is with Autel, a lot of people are kind of overlooking the fact that they also are being affected by the coronavirus, right?
Right.
Everybody mentions, DJI, but pretty much anything coming out of China is affected, and the Autels are built there. So, but on that note, personally, I got asked a question the other day, and I kind of thought about it. And it was like, what more could they do to the Mavic 3 to make you more interested? And my simple question was, what can you do? Because realistically, a lot of people don't realize we've got some awesome drones out there. And frankly, between Autel and DJI, I think it's going to be a slugfest, is my honest opinion, because what we've got now, it's pretty tough to beat that's usable to the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That really makes
agree.
A lot of sense. I agree 100%. Kind of wrapping these things up here, we touched on a lot of points here for the Autel 2. It's, once they get over their software issue, and, I did read your comment on Rick Smith's video, and I did read Rick's reply on there as well. And so it sounds like the Evo 2s are basically sitting in boxes or pallets somewhere, and just, they're waiting for Autel to get a firmware update taken care of as far as that's concerned. So, stay tuned for that. I mean, we'll definitely find out what's going on with that. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, because, Autel does not want to repeat history. You know, the history from when the Evo 1 came out was not very good. I mean, it was at CES, and then in February, the FCC approval came out and all the pictures were released and everything. And then we didn't hear anything to the end of June, beginning of July. And they don't want to do that. And I do know, I did talk to Ken Dono a little bit, and, his sponsor, DroneWorks, they've actually given people their money back who have actually put deposits on them, because, said, let's not do this. And he talked to the owner of DroneWorks. I believe this is all correct. Let's not do this now. Let's wait, because, let's don't worry about, when it's time, we'll let you know. Okay. So they're in that type of a mode right now. So
hey, Bill, before you move on from the Evo, about 3 or 4 comments back from Larry Boggs, he makes a great point. Also, it's hard to beat the DJI Smart Controller. The only thing, the Autel Evo, if it is a better drone than the Mavic 2 Pro, it won't have a better controller.
Yes, that's definitely 100% agreement. And I think Ron can say without any question, he's glad that I talked him in, talking him off the ledge on the smart controller, because that is just an incredible, that happens to be, for me, okay, if somebody were to ask me what was my favorite accessory ever for a DJI product, bar none, it's the smart controller. Okay, even with all its warts and blemishes and everything, that has just shown incredible capabilities. And I was very fortunate to be among the few to beta test it with the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, and it's an incredible, it's totally different flying experience with a Phantom 4 Pro V2.0.
Are there any smart controller 2 rumors out there?
Well, it's hard. It's like, and I'll put it to you this way: how do I get better than my wife Valerie? Okay, it just doesn't happen. Okay, it's probably one of those kind of answers. Okay, that kind of thing just doesn't happen.
It's strange, because personally, I'm not a fan of the smart controller. That's just a personal thing. Your limitation on third-party apps and stuff like that, to me, that was kind of a no-go. But, to each their own, I guess.
That's right. I mean, we're Ron and I have enjoyed ours, and
just not having to fiddle with that phone and getting plugged in or whatever. I mean, just on that alone or whatever, that's a big deal to me. Just seems to get up in the air faster, and that screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's like I say, it's all a personal preference, but just for me. But I know lots of people that absolutely demand to have those. So whatever makes you happy.
No, it's great that we have options.
Yep, exactly.
Well, we're gonna switch gears here in the last part of the show, and we've already touched upon it a little bit. DJI put out a video yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday. And it was on, they call it Drone To Phone. All right. And Brendan Schulman and Adam, what's the gentleman? Adam Lisberg, I believe, from DJI, talked about it's an answer for remote ID. Now, it's based upon Wi-Fi, and they deem it as a cost-effective type of solution. They also say that this can be rolled out to existing drones for firmware update. And that the burden would not be on consumers as far as the cost is concerned. However, and this has been a real sticking point, and I did notice in their comments section that overwhelmingly people said, okay, law enforcement on a need-to-know basis, yes, that's fine. But for me, okay, I don't want the gentleman across the lake down there to know that I'm flying. And if he has a hard time with it, comes over on my on my property with a baseball bat and destroys the drone, or comes after me, or if a criminal decides, I'm going to go steal this drone, I know where this guy's flying, I'll just come over there and get it. I mean, the whole privacy concern is I think is overriding in this point. Now, just to be fair, I did see a comment today out on Twitter, and it was from Brendan Schulman, and he responded. Drone DJ had put out a comment about this, and Brendan Schulman said, this is not something that we're implementing. This is something that we have proposed. as a possible solution, because the solution that the FAA has out there, and I think we're all in agreement, it's totally, number one, it's off the charts. Okay, the burden is on the consumer, on us, all right, the hobbyist pilots. Okay, it inconveniences everybody. It affects the AMA as well, and all the gentlemen who love to fly their model planes. It's very far-reaching. It's very invasive. It's too much. Okay, and this version, what DJI has proposed, okay, it sounds plausible. It sounds doable. It's with Wi-Fi. Okay, everything but, and this whole issue of privacy. Gentlemen, I'm going to open up the floor here to this. What do you guys think of this?
Well, I'll go ahead and start. So, just like we spoke about earlier, my concerns are just what you described, Bill. Everybody knows I fly out at Heroes Park in Meridian quite a bit, and I've had nothing but friendly interactions with people out there in the park. But you could imagine that somebody sees you flying in a public park and they don't like it for whatever reason, and like you said, maybe not even harming you personally, but here comes your drone, they take a baseball bat, knock it out of the air. I mean, your mind just reels, and why is that anybody's business? I don't see how that is anybody in the general public's business. Now, with regard to flying in controlled airspace, I absolutely understand why the authorities, under certain circumstances, would want to know that. And those circumstances being if they observe you flying in an illegal way, or if it's a big sporting event or VIP event or something that they're very, very concerned about keeping the airspace clear. Absolutely, I want the authorities to be able to zone in and figure out who's flying and all that. That said, when I am out in Class G airspace, out in the middle of, going over the Snake River Canyon, nobody needs to know that I'm flying my drone out there. They just don't. I'm not hurting anybody. It's not in controlled airspace. That is nobody's business. Now, Bill, you touched on something earlier where you mentioned an ADS-B receiver, not a transmitter, because what the FAA is worried about is overwhelming the system if we all had ADS-B transmitters on our drones. But a receiver that would tell us if there are aircraft in the area or something like that, hey, that's a great idea. That's something that would be, personally, I would see as helpful to all of us. My biggest concern here is just like what others have presented. It feels like it's a done deal already, and that's just a bummer, because I just think it creates, well, it will change our hobby permanently, because a number of people just won't want that hassle, and they just won't do it. That's all. They just won't do it.
I want to go next on this one, because I don't know if any of you guys have ever flown a drone with ADS-B. I've flown several times a 210 version 2, which is equipped with the ADS-B. And, I frankly love it, because having that awareness of other aircraft around you just adds an extra level of safety. And I was kind of thinking that since we have the ADS-B on those drones, that if they were to use something like their geo mapping, and if you're in controlled airspace, it also becomes a ADS-B out. So that if a guy was in Class G airspace, you've got just ADS-B in, because there is aircraft out in G airspace. So having that as a option to have the extra level of safety, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer to just add that ADS-B out in controlled airspace.
Lauren makes great points. I mean, there's much better ways of implementing safe drone flying out there than what the FAA proposal brings down, less complicated, more effective. And I've said it before, the FAA proposal is written by a lobbyist for a delivery company who doesn't, all they want to do is clear the skies out so they can deliver their packages, which isn't going to happen anyway for the foreseeable future anyways. It's got nothing to do with what's best for drone flyers. And the ironic part about that video that DJI released yesterday that has so many dislikes and so much hateful thoughts about it, it's still better than what the FFA wants to do, making us pay for like a third party thing to identify as whatever. I mean, that's how things have gone bad. That the DJI's proposal, but it's still better than what we may likely get anyways. But I'll throw it back to Bill.
Yeah, I was. That's spot on, Ron. Well, it's like okay, on this hand, it's the FAA and just with the piece of trash that they handed us, and then there's what DJI hands us, which it's about what I'll say 75% there. Okay, and I have to say this. I did see. Lauren has a great point because I did see ADS-B on a 210, and I did see how effective it was. I mean, to know where planes are, it was just incredible. And we were flying, we were outside the 5-mile limit of Tampa International, but I was able to see some of those planes, and it it was on the screen, and the information was easy to decipher, and it gives you a real awareness when you're out there flying. And I think I mentioned last night, Lauren, to Ron and Marcus, the area behind my house. Usually it's not, but lately it's been very crowded with like private aircraft, like the small Cessnas and coming low. And we have occasionally it's a direct route to an Air Force base over where our house is, and occasionally several times there's been low flying jets that have come over here. So, having that awareness and knowing where that is I think is just paramount. So, when I write my comments up and I've kind of got a rough draft, I'm going to be including, ADS-B in there because I think having something like that would be a godsend for a lot of people. It would make a lot of sense. And also too, I would be willing to pay the extra, $100, $150, $200, if that's what it costs to get this on a drone. I don't think it would cost that much, but I'd be willing to spend that money up front versus this proposal by the FAA and having to get a company, say like Kitty Hawk, get them rich. Okay.
Hey, Bill, can I pull a Ron Brown and throw a question at the group?
Yes.
So Ron does this all the time.
Guilty charged.
So the three of you, if you had to fly under those conditions where everybody can see where you're flying, where you're at with your controller and so forth, if this is implemented, how will it affect you personally, drone flying? And I'm going to answer for myself first. And I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to quit flying drones, but it will limit me and it will make me less excited about the hobby. But I'd be interested to hear how it would affect you guys.
Well, first of all,
Lauren. Go ahead.
It'd be very minimal effect to me because, like I say, most of my stuff is way out in Class G airspace, and kind of if you can find me there, go ahead. I might get some squirrels upset, but other than that, I don't think it's going to be a big problem.
And I'm kind of like Lauren. I fly mostly Class G, and I guess I won't be flying any more dicey neighborhoods anymore, which I don't hardly do anyways. So I did fly in a dicey neighborhood the other day, but I mostly, most of my flights are down at a beach in a kind of a short community where there's a little crime. And I'm kind of a celebrity down here. Everybody loves my drone videos of the town or whatever, so I don't think I'll get too much hate from people because I'm flying a drone. But I definitely see your point, Marcus. It won't have as much impact on me as I think most people, but I could definitely see it having an impact on many in the drone community, and even to the extreme that some people will give up the hobby because of these restrictive rules. So, Bill, I'll throw it over to you. How can you answer Marcus's question?
Well, that's a good question. And for me, it's not going to affect me. I mean, if I need to go out and fly in a different area all the time, other than where, and I kind of think I'm going to be have to do this because our development situation is changing rapidly, and some builders are coming in, and they're claiming that they own the lake and it's their property and all this stuff. So that could be changing. But for no, I'll find a place to fly, and I'll continue to do so. My heart's content. I mean, this will not change my habits at all. You know, I'm just hopeful. Like I said, I'm hopeful of you know, this measure being implemented to have that ADS-B, you know, not the transmit but the receive part, to where we can see these aircraft. Okay, that we can have knowledge of this. And I'll say this for the general populace. Let's say drone pilots. You know, they're 99.99% of us, we're gonna follow the rules. Okay, it's that 1/10 of 1%, like that idiot you probably remember a couple of years ago that flew up on the Space Needle over in Seattle and you know crashed his drone up there and almost hit some people that were installing fireworks for the 4th or whatever. You know, it's idiots like that. But for the most part, okay, most of us follow the rules. Most of us want to know when there's aircraft out there. Most of us, you know, instinctively, okay? Let's say, and this happened last time I flew. It was a Mavic Mini. I had it up. It was maybe 25 feet up in the air. I hear a plane overhead. I just stop. I'm stopped right where I'm at. You know, it was within visual line of sight. I saw him. I waited until he was way out of the area, and I didn't go higher than 100 feet for my flight, okay? You know, most of us are like that. Most of us, you know, if we sense that there's something in the area, if we know that, we're gonna react to it. And this is why I think, you know, you can't place enough emphasis on having a ADS-B receiver in the drone, because it will tell you information that will be valuable to you, extremely valuable. You know, I look at it like this, okay? It's not the private pilot's fault, okay, or the private pilot's concern to get out of our way. It's our business to get out of their way. And once we do, you know, things work well. They work like they should. Okay, that's kind of my 2 cents worth on all this.
And I'm going to get. Oh, go ahead, Marcus. I'll go after you.
Okay, I just want to add that your 3 responses then to me are confirming to both the FAA and to DJI that it's okay to implement this because it's not going to affect their business.
No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to ADS-B, not the implementation as they're proposing.
Okay,
but on the ADS-B, I'm getting the Air 2 just because it has it.
Okay, well, Mel brings up a good point, and by the way, welcome, Mel. You know, I don't know, Amazons of the world can do deliveries with the current FAA laws. You know, if you want to expand upon that in the chat, go for it, Mel. That would be fine. We can definitely talk about that here for a minute. You know, and that's the other thing, the other driving force behind a lot of this remote ID. I can show you a current law in the FAA regs that prohibits it. Okay. That's, you know, if you want to go ahead and post that link, I'll allow that link, Mel. So go ahead and do that if you want to. You know, and I think this is another point before we kind of wrap things up here on this and kind of close things out. I think it's important to realize here that what's the driving force behind all of this. Okay, it's, you know, it's our buddy Mr. Bezos and Amazon and UPS and FedEx and all these companies that want to do deliveries by drone. And I think we need to keep in mind that, you know, the technology still isn't there yet, okay? And I did say that when the remote ID proposal came out, that technology, it's putting it, what they put on paper will not work. It's not a viable solution yet. Maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road, it could work. We don't know, okay? What DJI, at least DJI's solution works. Okay, it's a proposal. You know, for me, without the public knowledge, I'm okay with something like that. But I think, you know, there's a point to be made and a point to be said about big business trying to come in and say, you know what, we want to control the airspace, we want to have do deliveries. Okay, it's going to take. They're still not at a point where that they're capable of doing that yet. Everything that I've read, as far as these are concerned, I do see some great success stories about, for example, there was a hospital campus in North Carolina, transferring, blood, or even there was a kidney that was moved from one area to another. So some vital work there, which is fantastic. But there's a lot to go on with this. There's a lot that hasn't been done yet. Okay, and they're not at the point, and they're not ready for this yet. Okay, so why the push for all of this all of a sudden? That's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother Rotor Talk Live. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I'd like you guys' final thoughts on this whole drone to phone from DJI and remote ID. If you guys want to start, Marcus, Ron, and then Lauren, if you guys want to go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So, Bill, I think I made my thoughts on it fairly clear. That I don't like it at all. I just don't think there's if it was just the authorities, I could accept it. I still probably wouldn't like it, but I could accept it. But the fact that the general public, that anybody can get their smartphone out and look at exactly where I flew my drone and where I'm standing, I got a problem with that. So, yeah. Anyway, it is what it is, and I suspect that that one way or another, that kind of technology, whether it's the FAAs or DJIs or however it works, that's going to be kind of something that is going to happen, and I think it will put a damper on our hobby. Ron.
Thank you, Marcus. Good thoughts. I second everything you said. And Bill, I just want to say that we talk about these new proposed FAA rules, and the rules, they mentioned safety, like hundreds of times in there. But we all know that that's not right. We know that outside of a few isolated incidents in the U.S. and even worldwide, there's been very little drone accidents as far as them hitting planes or other drones or anything like that. There are very few isolated cases. So this really has nothing to do with safety. This is all about clearing the decks for the big delivery companies who think they can deliver stuff, which we've already talked about. It probably won't happen in the near future anyways. So, but that's just it. It's not about safety. You could talk about how safe remote ID is, or AAD. I can't even say the letters. How safe that is. But I mean, there's not many safety concerns as it stands now. So that's my thoughts, and I'll throw it over to Lauren.
Sure. My basic thoughts are, if it's the information is confidential and sent to the people that need to see it, not to everybody, but needs to see it, and can be done in an economical fashion. And if in fact that they are doing this to bring in the corporate section, I think corporate should be paying the cost, not us, because we've been in the air for years. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm coming up on my 8th year of flying. And for somebody to come in and say, now I've got to pay fees so the corporations can fly, no, not working for me.
Well said, Lauren.
Yeah, I agree. That was very well said, Lauren. And for me, as far as this is concerned, I number one, I'll start off with what Lauren said. I don't want to be paying for Amazon to rule the airwaves, so to speak, or for UPS to do that. Okay. I don't want to have to do that. Let them do that. If they want to do that, and it's so precious to them, let them pay, number one. And number two, okay, do not put the burden on consumers in any way, shape, or form. All right. I want to be able to go out there. I want to be able to get my smart controller, power that up, power my Mavic 2 Pro up. Next thing I know, I'm up in the air and I'm doing what I love. I want to be able to do that freely. I don't want to have to be encumbered by a lot of things as far as that's concerned. I want to be able to do this without hesitation. I want to be able to do this without my neighbor knowing that I'm taking off again, all right? Or someone who is intent on performing a criminal act, causing me some bodily harm or stealing my property. I don't want that, okay? I don't want that. Law enforcement, yes, I fully, I will say yes. I believe that they do need to know that information, but no one else does, all right? Except for myself and law enforcement. That's fine. And as long as I'm within the laws, which, like I said, 99.9% of us are, it's all good. I don't see any problem with that. All right. We're at the point of the show. I'm going to kind of do a synopsis of what we talked about tonight. We did touch a little bit on the Zino 2 and updates regarding that. And hopefully, things will get shipping wise. We may see some activity on that soon, because I know some of us have gotten some shipping notices. Some of us haven't yet, and I'm in the haven't yet club. So I'm hopefully that's gonna correct itself soon. We did talk a lot about the Mavic 3 and and share some thoughts. And I want to thank Lauren for joining us kind of like at the last minute and to get a lot of his interjections and thoughts regarding that. And Lauren, we really appreciate that. And it was some excellent information. We also touched on the Evo 2 and what this means for Autel. And we've basically came to the synopsis. Autel is not going to overtake DJI with this by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they're going to have a bigger footprint here. Okay, without question. I think that they're gonna do well. And something that we didn't touch on, but I want to say very briefly is, okay, they're going to have to keep up with excellent customer service for this. Because if they stumble on this at all, okay, it could cost them the company. This is a make or break kind of a thing for them. I think they're all in on this, and I want them to succeed, because by them succeeding, it pushes DJI. They push each other around, which I think is a great thing as far as that's concerned. And then the last thing we talked about tonight was Drone to Phone and the ramifications of this. And while on the outset it sounds great, there's the whole concern about privacy, and I think we've addressed that very well. And there's been some great comments, and I want to compliment everybody in the chat tonight. You absolutely have been fantastic. You put in a lot of great comments, a lot of great thought. I want to thank everybody for this. Let's go to closing thoughts. Marcus, Ron, and then Lauren, and then we'll call it a night.
Well, not a lot going on other than I've got some good weather ahead of me, so hopefully get out and fly a little bit. I did hear from the folks at Skydio with regard to the gimbal issue that you saw on my Skydio 2. They feel like it's something that they can correct with software, so that's a good thing. Bill, you touched on customer service with Autel. What I will say is all the companies could learn from the way Skydio handles their customer service. So that's about it. Ron?
Thank you, Marcus. Looking forward to some more videos from your channel. I put up a Skydio 2 video today, like a car tracking video down at the beach, in Brigantine. So check that out if you're interested in the Skydio at all. And I hope Bill receives his Zino 2 before he gets his Mavic 3 in. And there goes the phone. I'll throw it over. That's the Zino 2. That's
Saved by the bell.
That's Gearbest on the line. It's coming. Lauren, take it away, Lauren. I'm done.
You cracked me up. I totally forgot what the heck I was going to say now.
Okay. I'll rumble on for a few minutes so you can collect your thoughts.
Anyways, yeah. I think we're just kind of seeing the tip of what's coming in the near future. I'm looking at one right now. It's called an MK3. Probably not something that you guys would be interested in unless you're into thermals. But it's quite an interesting little project. But that one I can talk about a little bit. But it's interesting, but I think it's got a ways to go. But as for DJI and Autel, the best thing that can happen is those two guys have a slugfest, because all that does is give better products in the end line. And that's my final thoughts.
No, that's well, Lauren said it. I mean, he said it very well. He summed it up. I mean, Autel and DJI going to fisticuffs couldn't be better. That would make such a difference for all of us, and we win in this instance. And as a final thought, and as a closing thought, please go out and do your comments out there, okay? On the FAA remote ID. They're needed out there. The AMA is encouraging all their members to go out there and do that. I haven't looked lately to see how many are out there. March 2nd is coming up, and in spite of what you hear, and in spite of what you think that this is a done deal, or as far as that's concerned, put that out of your mind. Formulate some thoughts, type it up, proofread it, and then get it out there, because we have a chance to voice our opinion here, and I think it's important to do that. All right, I've exhausted my thoughts. I want to thank Marcus and Ron. It was a pleasure having you guys back. Also, I'm be very remiss to say I want to thank Josh from Parks and Tech for filling in last week. He was, and it was weird, and I have to say this. He was craving Jimmy John's and grouper sandwiches. I don't know why. I don't know if that would have anything to do with Marcus or Ron, but he told me he was kind of craving those. So, but no, I want to thank Josh. He did excellent last week. Josh, he's under the weather tonight. Hope you get feeling better soon. We'll definitely get you on sometime. And I want to thank Lauren very much for coming in at the last minute. Really added a lot of valuable input, especially about the Mavic 3 and what we can expect and everything. So everything, guys, and remember, it's a great day to fly. Thanks so much for stopping by tonight. Take care. And